Welcome to Smart Software, a podcast where we talk about best practices in web and mobile software development with a focus on new and emerging technologies. My name is Justus and I'll be your host today. I'm a developer at SmartLogic, a Baltimore-based consulting company that has been building custom web and mobile software applications since 2005. From the SmartLogic team today, I am joined by my excellent co-host, Eric Ostrich. Say hi, Eric.
Hello, everyone.
And our second season of Smart Software is presently underway for the rest of this episode, because this is the last episode of the season. And it's not even going to be a regular episode. We are going to just do a recap of the season and kind of talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, go over some of the high-level thoughts that we had. And we don't have a guest because, what would a guest add to this conversation? I don't know. What do you think, Eric?
I think it would be a little weird to have a guest for a recap.
I agree. Unless they were really, really diligent about listening to every episode, and then they could talk about what they thought we could do better.
That's true.
We do have some super fans. We just got back from ElixirConf last month, and someone told me that we made one of their favorite podcasts.
That's good to hear.
Did you get any feedback like that?
I mean, I was mostly just impressed that people were listening.
I'm shocked every time I look at our metrics, and that we have an outline for every episode. We make an outline. We have an outline for this episode, but we didn't add metrics to that outline. Maybe we should talk a little bit about them. I mean, we should definitely talk about some of the more popular episodes. Eric's like, I don't want to plan this while we do it. But I'm okay with that. Well, let's talk. First of all, let's talk about what we liked, Eric. I'm going to go through all of the guests. I want to thank each and every one of the people who have joined us on the show. I want to thank you personally, but I also want to thank you right now because it really, really means a lot that you take time out of your day to come and talk to us about Elixir. So this season, we were joined by Brooklyn Zelenka, Brian Joseph, Paul Schoenfelder, Meryl Dakin, Renee Foring, Dave Lucia, Sophie DeBenedetto, Shanti Shalaram, Todd Rezadek, Chris Keithley, Michal Miskawa, and one time I interviewed Eric as a guest, and it was a good episode. And also our fearless leader, Dan Ivovich, came on the show to guest host one time. So I'd like to thank him as well. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of this lovely, lovely production. I've really enjoyed every single episode that we did. I will say that I think Brooklyn's episode was particularly good because we went into concepts that we just don't get to touch on that often.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite?
I don't know. I like talking with Renee. It's always great to hear more about Credo and
I thought you might say Renee. We just love Renee. We have an irrational love of Renee. He's just very likable. He's just super likable, like charisma through the roof from Renee. So, and really, again, we love all of our guests, and we're so thankful to every single one of them. These are just some sort of top of mind reflections. Of course, we have to thank SmartLogic for sponsoring us. This is the SmartLogic podcast, and SmartLogic does, I think, excellent work. And I should think that because it's me doing some of it. And Eric is a genius. And I'm really, thanks, Eric. Thanks for working with me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What didn't you like, Eric?
So I guess we heard some reports, or feedback that we could probably go longer. So maybe not try to cut the conversation as short as we have been. So we'll see how that goes for next season, maybe. And then there's always we talked about specifically the episode with Brooklyn where we went into all these super deep functional things, and then you just don't have time to actually use it because the day is short. So if somehow fix that, that'd be great.
So yeah, I tend to agree with especially your first point. And we heard this from other people too, was this idea that we were sort of arbitrarily limiting the time to around 30, 35 minutes. And several people said, go longer, just keep going. So that's a piece of feedback that we are taking seriously. And yeah, just having more time to really dive into the things that we're learning from every episode will be lovely. And perhaps one day that'll be possible. Eric, what about ElixirConf? Did we get any other feedback at ElixirConf? Or just do you have any thoughts on ElixirConf? Since, we didn't really do an episode at ElixirConf. We had planned on doing an episode at ElixirConf, but we did not, just because I was emceeing, you were doing the hallway track pretty hard. You're everybody's favorite mud developer. Do you have any thoughts on the time that we spent there? Anything you learned?
I enjoyed ElixirConf. It was fun. I sat at our booth for most of it and kind of just stayed in that area. Saw a few talks. The one I think I liked the most was Joanna Larson. Did a string processing talk that I then got to tweak some of my side projects to use IO data instead of strings, and got some crazy performance and whatnot, benefits from using that instead of string interpolation because of where it was headed through a socket. So that was cool. Got to learn about that and finally inspired me to do that. Yeah, and I just got to talk to a bunch of people. Was hoping to do a lunch episode there, but turns out emceeing is a very busy task, so couldn't peel you away from that.
I will take full responsibility for not making myself more available. What about the future? Because we've got some more conferences coming up. I think that you might be keynoting at a big conference. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I've heard it's a big Elixir conference. You may. So I'll be one of the keynotes at the Big Elixir this November. They just put out the schedule, so I'll be the first talk of day 2, I think, is what that was. What I'll be covering is all aboard the stateful train. So how Accenture and Grapevine are all super stateful things, and most web apps that we particularly do are just straight to the database and out. So it's what can you do to add more state so that it becomes more of a live website, and do you even want to do that type of things? So yeah, it should be good.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. And New Orleans is just a really great place to have a conference. I mean, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the venue they have is pretty cool too, the Le Petit Theater.
Is it happening there again?
I believe so.
Yeah, and the little hors d'oeuvres that they serve there were quite nice. Sorry, I probably shouldn't be thinking about the food. But yeah, the food in New Orleans is pretty incredible, and I really enjoy New Orleans for that reason. Okay, and we've also got Lone Star Elixir coming up early next year, which we will be at. I may or may not be emceeing at Lone Star Elixir. You'll just have to attend to find out. And of course, ElixirConf 2020, we will attend. And any other conference that I think that we're invited to, we'd love to come and just hang out and hang out with fellow alchemists. What else for the future, Eric? What do we want to do with the podcast going into the future? Because, we're wrapping up season 2 right now. Generally speaking, the second in a trilogy is the best. So there's almost no chance that we will outdo ourselves. This is The Empire Strikes Back for smart software. What do you think we're going to do? Are we just going to wrap it up after this? Are we done after season 2?
No, we're definitely heading to season 3. So season 3 is going to be, we're kind of going to do instead of a solid topic throughout the whole season, we've got 3 topics that we're going to kind of bounce around. So we want to cover functional programming, which will include more things than just Elixir. So we're going to try and bring in some other languages if we can. Performance, specifically in Elixir, but maybe elsewhere. And then how do you teach people Elixir and recruit them for your job?
Teaching, hiring Elixir. Yeah, yep. Beam performance is the phrasing that came out of our survey a little bit. But we're going to take a little bit of a break before we get into season 3, right?
Yep. Yeah, just between season 1 and 2, there was a break. So
you've got this keynote coming up, so you need some time.
Yep.
And me, I have got lots and lots of work to do. It's not real work. It's just work that it's just looks like work. But we need to take a break from the real work, which is making this podcast. So we've talked about the keynote. We've talked about the future conferences. We want to make season 3 even deeper, even more technical, less fluff as usual. We only want to bring you the highest quality in audio content. We talked a little bit. You just mentioned, we might jump into some other languages, obviously Erlang. We might talk a little about Rust. I don't know if Haskell will get brought up. We've talked about React for a future season. We really want to encourage people to reach out to us. So what's the best way for folks to reach out to us, Eric?
So I think if you just email us, I'm Eric at smartlogic.io and you're Justus at smartlogic.io. And we're on Twitter at smartlogic. If you want to talk to us there.
What's your Twitter handle, Eric?
At Eric Ostrich.
And mine's at Justus Epen, which is really easy because just use a pen. Okay, cool. So we want people to reach out. We want people to talk to us. We were talking about those themes that we mentioned earlier, functional programming, performance, teaching, and hiring in Elixir. But those aren't really like set in stone yet. So reach out to us and you tell us that you hate those themes and you'd prefer a different topic. We'll probably ignore you unless there's a lot of you. But that's okay. You should make yourself heard. It's a free country. You can use your freedom of speech. And we encourage that. We want to hear from you. So email us. Help us make the podcast even better for you. Do we have anything else that we should go into here, Eric? Anything else about the last season that you just want to mention? Or
I don't think so. Just that it was had a blast talking to everyone that was on the show. So thanks once again to everyone. Any
shameless plugs for the audience before we go?
Probably not. I feel like I've already shamelessly plugged enough on my entire self episode. So
I'll plug Smart Logic one more time. Definitely, if you have any projects in Elixir, we've got one of the best small teams here, and you should reach out because we want to help you with that. Once again, this has been an episode of Smart Software with Smart Logic. My name is Justus Epen. My co-host is Eric Ostrich, and we will see you next season on Smart Software.